Jerry. It was absolutely delightful and creative. Now, with such an introduction, I don't know how to begin a very serious session that we're going to have with you. But I would like to first thank you on behalf of the 4 billion people who are subsidizing us by not being able to eat or drink or consume anything. I feel they're subsidizing us. And I'd like to really thank you for sharing Saturday afternoon on their behalf. I'd like to thank all of you, particularly the people who are here, on behalf of the Tufts Gordon Institute, the Fletcher School, the students and faculty, and as well as the members of the Boston Pledge. Now, the problem that we are discussing today, which we have been discussing for the last perhaps 5,000 years, has only expanded in size in spite of all kinds of tools and all kinds of thoughts and all kinds of economic theories that we have developed over time. So obviously the problem that we want to deal with is unique. We have to find innovative ways, as Jerry was talking about. We have to find creative ways. And what gives me hope that such discussions that we are having right now is becoming part of the mainstream discussion, which was not the case, perhaps 20, 25 years ago. So in that spirit, I feel highly enthused to be with you, to be part of you, and in the process, perhaps lay out, I would say, the backdrop around which you will hear some of the star speakers' thoughts today. I'm just going to be a humble servant to set up the ball so that they could really smash. So that's what I'm going to do. In that spirit, I'm going to talk about the subject which we are calling harnessing the power of micro movements, and in the process explore with you the new possibilities. I personally look at the future with a tremendous amount of optimism, because time has come where both people at the top of the pyramid, as well as the base of the pyramid, not bottom of the pyramid, the base of the pyramid, there has to be a change. Why at the top? Because we are running out of resources. Why at the base? Because we also realize that if the base is weak, any construction would be weak, however strong the top is, they collapse. So I think that realization has come to play, and particularly I'm impressed that we are having this session at Fletcher, because I'm always been surprised when I meet students how committed they are to move away from the mainstream Wall Street type of thoughts to the thoughts in the villages and towns, where perhaps the per capita income is less than $2 a day. So the title of today's speech was inspired by a question, and reminds me what my friend Sam Legier often talks about, the question the daughter of Edwin Land raised, that daddy, why can't I see the picture instantly? That led daddy to begin a research project which led to instant camera. So there were such questions you hear from Eric, same questions, why can't the electricity charge my camera or my cell phone? It's all around. Why do you have to plug it in? So such questions are very, very important, and we have to take it how foolish they may sound, how stupid they may sound, very seriously. So in this conference, in this meeting actually, which is in a village, where the per capita income is perhaps $1.50 a day, as you could see me there, I was organizing a workshop. And this man who was standing up, they asked me, and they made a very encouraging statement, that Mr. Ghosh, I'm extremely inspired. I have only $25 in rupees, of course, it's a lot of money. I could see what I could do with my life. But you know what? Why can't you do the same kind of conference where you can reach out to millions of villages at the same time? I thought that was a brilliant question. Then how do we begin a movement where each one in this room could do one workshop or two workshops with 30 or 40 people a year, which could trigger a change? So that is one question that I triggered this thought. The other is, of course, all of you know, most powerful forces of nature is in the micro. Whether we're talking about biotechnology, whether we're talking about physics, whether we're talking about chemistry, when we get into the particle level, income, the most powerful particle today is under name after a person who was born in my city, boson, those particles. So I think I feel highly inspired that today I could talk about him at the same time talk about the micro movements. So given that background, I'd like to quickly touch base with you on 3 points. Firstly, the pyramid that we talk about all the time. And I feel the pyramid has reached a point of inflection. Then I quickly talk about the power of microfusion, and then to move towards the fundamental question that we always talk about. How do we create a dynamic of sustainable development? And of course, the basic point that I like to make is that we have to think beyond the limits of our current thinking or linear thinking. And as you would know that last week, the Time magazine talked about the billions of dollars that we spent in development of Africa, but the changes that we have been able to accomplish is very minimal. At the same time, there are millions of NGOs working around the world, but the changes that we have been able to make is also very minuscule. So obviously, the intention is there, but somehow the process that we need is yet to be uncovered. And I hope this conference will uncover that process of how do we develop a conscience through which we could bring the change in our way of engagement with nature. Now what is interesting though, if we look through history, some of the fundamental changes in the world has indeed come from people who are close to the base of the pyramid. When you talk about Thomas Edison, when you talk about Andrew Carnegie, these 2 most powerful figures in business did not have the privilege to go to high school. But as you know, Thomas Edison today, still as electricity has got the most number of patents. So indeed, there are a lot of such individuals that we have to uncover today as we engage with the base of the pyramid. Because base of the pyramid has been the fundamental ferment, economic ferment, behind development. Now, unfortunately, over the period, what has happened, the gap has increased. There are several reasons. I will not get into the details, but there are a lot of fragmented responses. Sometimes we at the top believe that we have to reach out to the bottom and we are doing a favor. And I think those are the attitudes which have often acted as constraints in their development process. The challenge is that how do we reverse that process? Now, as a result, as you know, about 3 weeks ago, there was a series of suicides that occurred around the term microfinance in India. Now, the effort was by a group of bankers how to link the capitalistic part of the world with the social entrepreneurship part. Now, when you try to link the need to create money for the shareholders with someone who is really struggling, obviously the connection often fails. Now, what happens? An innocent farmer who has never taken a loan before, for him, when he cannot return the money on time, he decides to basically disengage from the world. So instead of engaging with the real problem, we are helping often people to disengage. In many ways, I feel the terrorism that we see these days are also part of those kind of frustrations that lead people to think of sacrificing their lives. So I personally feel microfinance, social entrepreneurship, these are the words, aid programs, they're of course necessary. We are not saying we should not take away from it, but not sufficient. And the question is, what else do we need so that we can build the next era in a different fashion? Now, when you look at the income curve of the world, it's very interesting. What you're looking at is the vertical axis, which is dollars per capita income. Now, 65% of the world population today is around the $500 or below per capita. And then, of course, we have got Qatars of the world with very small population base, which is about $100,000 per capita. But generally, we have about 750 million people whose income is about $30,000, and about 1.2 billion people who would be in the $10,000 per capita. But what is interesting that the average income of the world is about $10,000 per capita, which is not bad. Which is not bad. The point is that how come we are not being able to create a process that the top 3 can engage with the bottom 7? As simple as that. In other words, if each one of us can take care of 2 individuals or 3 individuals, we are creating a process where you could reach to that $10,000 per capita and more very rapidly. And that has not happened in spite of a lot of discussions